Assalamu alaikum. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, we want to get started with the program to welcome these brothers and sisters back from the Umrah. And it's truly a blessing, you know, to go to the city of Medina and Mecca and the house of God. It's truly a blessing. And we want to welcome them back. And the first thing I would like to say is Takbir. And we'll get started with Brother Kareem Aziz. Normally he's here on time, but we're going to make do out of it. He comes in right in time for him to give his presentation on his journey. And we'll get started.
Any more chairs?
Oh, there's one in the back right there. We'll bring some more. So, who's going to get started first?
I'm going to start with her first. Somebody.
Every time, they use one chair and that's one. No. You got one chair.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. My name is Sister Shahida Duncan, and I am just returned from Umrah, and I had my little papers that I was going to speak from, but unfortunately I left them, so I'm winging it. First I want to say that I was blessed to go to Hajj in 2001, and in my Hajj, I had a beautiful journey, and Allah blessed me to fulfill all my obligations, and on the last day of returning back from Arafat, I never got to do my farewell tawaf. And 20 years later, as I was invited, you have to, and I'm told to be invited to Allah's house. And I remember that when in 2001, they gave me a bracelet that said guest of God. And so I was in the same musala 20 years ago when I spoke on being a guest in anybody's house, nevertheless being a guest in God's house. And that, as I was saying, took me back 20 years ago that I never made that farewell tawaf. And so when Umrah came up, when the sister asked me did I want to go to Umrah, I was like, nah, I didn't want to go back. And then I was like, Shahida, you never said farewell, and that's an obligation that you have to do. So my whole Umrah was to go back and really make that farewell tawaf. And so embarking on this journey, I went with the nation capital, Masjid. And I really didn't know any of the believers there, but as long as you know you believers, you know, we can all just hang together. And so I was one of the few Hajjis there. And so some of the people didn't know what to expect. And so the Imam, he was going over to what to expect on your Umrah, what to encounter, what was some of the your rites that you needed to perform. And I was blessed to have old sisters, like 80, 81, 79. These were some strong sisters. And they were like, when we first got to Medina, and Medina was just like I remembered it. And it's probably, for me, one of the most peaceful places on the planet Earth. And because we have to reflect on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is buried there. And we make our salah, and we face Qibla, and we pour our heart out. And so for me, I was here in the city that I prayed for every single day. I'm a prayer warrior. I make 5 prayers a day. You know what I mean? So no one could hit me, but no lightning, but I try. And so to be in Medina and to get like 1,000 prayers, they said one prayer in the Prophet's Mosque is like 1,000 prayers. So I made it my business to really go in, and I felt comfortable because, like I said, I had encountered on my Hajj, I spent the night in the mosque, and I was able to get up in the morning and make a tour and give the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam the salams, and so that was one of the highlights of my life. So going back this time, it was not the same as far as the sisters, the brothers, there is a wall, so we're not able to see the beauty of the masjid. And we had a guide who is going to allow us to embark on the side of where the brothers. There is in the Prophet's Mosque, there is a piece in there where paradise starts, and it was the beginning of paradise. And if you make 2 rakats there's, I don't know, it was in my notes, but they had sent our guide to us to take us, like I said, to on the brother side where we could, the sisters. These sisters was all out of order. And it wasn't like 20 years ago when I went, it was a whole different type of people. And they was running and they was jumping, and I was like, with a sister who became very, very afraid. So I had told her, just be peaceful and just keep walking. And so we got into the area where you make your 2 rakat, and this was falling all over, and Allah, I was saying Allah knows my intention, because I had already encountered, like I said, this same journey 20 years ago that was really, really, really peaceful. So alhamdulillah, like I said, the Prophet's Mosque in Medina was probably one of the highlights of my journey on this Umrah. And I had gone back to Mecca, and we was to perform our Umrah rites, and I was able to go in there, and with the group that we stayed together, we made our tawaf, and we did our rites. We went to Marwa and Safa, and we go back and forth. And alhamdulillah, I was able to do that with the believers. Now in the haram, in Mecca, one prayer in the mosque in Mecca is 100,000 prayers. So I was trying to hit 1 million. I tried my best to go to the masjid as much as I possibly can. And I wanted to say, and these were some of my notes that I was very disheartened about, because the haram is so different now. And my whole spiritual, like Medina, I was high. But when I came to Mecca, they cut off the city. Like we used to, when we stayed there, we stayed on the outside in Mecca. This time we stayed at the 5-star hotel. And to get to the haram now, you have to go through a mall. And when you are in your high and you praying, when you come out, you looking at Kentucky Fried Chicken, Burger King, McDonald's, and I was really, really upset at the effect of the Western had on my spiritual journey. So what I did is that I kind of made movement by myself, because when you go and there's so many people, you can get a good spot. And so I would leave through there and just make sure that I stayed at the Kaaba. I had some older sisters who asked me to accompany them to the mosque so they can also make their salat, because they had like a 4-star hotel. In their hotel room, they could actually see the haram. I mean, they didn't even have to leave their room. And I was like, wow, this is serious, you know what I mean? That you could just gaze out of the window, where years ago, like I said, when I went, you know, I was so happy to make my tawaf. I got to touch the Kaaba. I got to kiss the black stone 20 years ago. Well, I did the same, like I said, on my own. And one of the things that bothered me was that people was taking a lot of pictures. They was taking selfies, going around the Kaaba, putting their hands up and taking pictures. And I reflected on Surah Kaf, Surah 50, that says Allah has placed an angel on your left and your right, and he is recording. So there's no need for you all to be coming with all these cameras when Allah has always given you the best recording of your life that you could ever want. And there's 2 surahs that encounters that speaks about this. And it was really serious. And I'm like, you know, I was like in awe that people would be in their spiritual return with a camera in their face, not reflecting on, like, you know, the prophet was here and he walked this same path. And so that was like, for me, I took a little young girl and her mother, and I had, I'm from New York. And so I know New York, I know crowd control. Crowds don't really kind of bother me. So I took them in all the way to the wall, to the station of Ishmael. I let them touch the wall, you know, I let them touch the Kaaba corner. And I took them to the station of Ibrahim alayhi salam, where his footsteps is in there, and they got to gaze in there, and they was really kind of like in awe of that they were able to do this. But like I told them, you know, before they can pull out the camera, I'm old school. I'm also an older person, so technology is really not my thing anyway. So I was telling them before the young girl pulled out her camera, I was saying, you know what I mean? You need to reflect. And it's something that you should carry in your heart. And so as we embarked back forward on the journey, we went to the Mountain of Light, where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam received revelation. But this time when I went to the spot where the Quran was revealed, and with me to be in the spot where Angel Jibril came down and gave the revelation, blew me away. For me, an African-American young black sister sitting here in the same spot, I'm like, you know what, in my heart, I was saying, you special, you know, we like the Christian, you blessed and highly favored. And that kind of like kept my spirit like going, you know, and to go to Al-Quba and to go all these different places that I didn't get to go on my Hajj. I went to some grave sites, but that was one of the highlights of my Umrah. And so we embarked upon Cairo and Egypt and, you know, the pyramids and all that. We did not know that I was going to go to this church. And they were giving us the history of the church. And lo and behold, in this particular church was the church that Isa Miriam alayhi salam and his mother was hid in Egypt for 3 months. And they allowed us to go in the church and in the room where our beloved prophet Isa Miriam alayhi salam and his mother. And I still got chills, and I'm like, Ya Allah, you know what I mean? That was like a highlight of my whole entire life, to be in a spot where Allah revealed the Quran, and now I'm in the spot, actually it's in a little cave, and like I said, as long as I'm 65 years old, and never even heard that Isa Mary alayhi salam was in Egypt. You know, I knew Musa alayhi salam was in Egypt, but I never knew that Jesus and his mother was actually in this particular church. So with that, like I said, it wrapped my heart. And I'm a very spiritual person too, so for Allah to allow me to be able to encounter those things. Like, I seen the pyramids and they were great. You know what I mean? I seen all the mummies and they was great. But that took me, like I said, even to now, I keep reflecting on where Allah took me on this journey. And to go back to Mecca on the farewell tawaf, they was synchronizing their time, like we going in a group and we're gonna make the tawaf. And it was 2:30 in the morning, and I got up and I said, I'm gonna make tahajjud, and I'm gonna go to the mosque by myself, and I'm gonna make this farewell tawaf all by myself. And so I went downstairs and I sat down, and you have to squeeze for a spot. You have to, like really get in here and bug God, and then no, and you be like, this is my spot here. And so I got in there, and there was a sister who was sitting there, and she was kind of performing her rites and doing what she's doing, and I was kind of like was going to ask her a question. And so she asked me, she said, where are you from? And usually I don't talk. I don't let them know that I'm from America, because if you don't talk, they don't have not a clue to where you're from. So I did tell her I was from America, and she was saying, you traveled here? And I was saying, yeah, I was a Hajjah. And I said, she said, where else in the world do you want to go? And I said, inshallah, it's always my dream to go to Jerusalem. And the sister said to me, I'm from Jerusalem. And she was saying, what is your name? And I wrote my name in Arabic. That's the only thing I know in Arabic is my name. So I wrote on a piece of paper, and she said, Shahida. And I was saying, Alhamdulillah, I can really write. So she said, Shahida, she said, Allah blessed me to learn English for you. And she said, I learned some words in English, and Allah blessed me just so I can talk to you. And she said, when you come to Jerusalem, here go my name, and I'm gonna write it in English. And alhamdulillah, that blew me away. So we exchanged some things, and I went out there and I made my farewell tawaf all by myself, alhamdulillah. And like I said, and to be able to see things that I've never seen before. And I encourage those who have not made Hajj, or Umrah to go. It is some of our rights. It's our obligation, actually, for us as believers. And like I said, for me, everybody's journey is a little bit different. And, excuse me, like from my journey 20 years ago and my journey now, like I said, I just felt like I was closer to Allah, closer to the believers, thankful to be a Muslim, you know, and just thankful just to be a believer, you know, because like I said, once I went into that church too, I was like starting to kind of reflect on my sister who's here, and she's a Christian. Her husband is a minister, and you know, I was able to be excited to was saying, oh my goodness, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't know the respect that we have for Prophet Isa Lamiri and Lady Salam, and so that was the highlight, believers, of my trip. And I'm sorry I didn't prepare more, you know, but I had all my little notes and little servers and, you know, ayaks, and Allah bless me to say, to put it down. And I went to get something. I told my sister, I said, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to say. But alhamdulillah, you know, I had a beautiful, beautiful Umrah. I went with Dar Salam. I went with Hajj Pro before. So I got a different perspective, like I said, of the history of Mecca, and from a different perspective of, you know, like I said, Egypt, and different views on how people actually see things and what we actually believe, but we are all on the same page, you know. So I greet you in the greetings of peace, and I sallam alaikum.
Oh, you done been?
No, I haven't been, but
Oh,
he's
but
it's my dad, man, okay. All right, that's some of it. I did write some things down. I tried to do this last week because I thought I was going to forget something, because this was the greatest trip I've ever been on, ever. So about 3 days into it, I called my wife and said, you should have been here. I apologized that she wasn't here because it was the greatest thing I've ever been to. I've been to the Bahamas, I've been to Belize, Honduras, Cozumel, all these places, and I regretted going there without going to Mecca and Medina. Non-Muslims may have stereotypes about Islam, but Muslims do too. At least I do. Let me speak for myself. I was a little concerned about my wife going, so I wanted to go make sure everything was cool before she went. So I went with some of my friends. I went with Kareem here, who is a soldier. He is my brother forever and ever and ever. I will go through anything with that man right there. I mean it. I'll do anything for him. And Brother Lewis, and 3 brothers who are from Virginia, but they live out of state now. One of them is from Atlanta. The other one is in Hampton. I was hoping he would be here today just so he can share his experience, because he helped me out with traveling around with Brother Lewis, and just traveling, period. Just keeping our spirits on high. So let me see. I got a bunch of things I want to talk about here. I didn't want to forget any of them. So we first landed in Egypt, and I got a bunch of friends. We always joke about who is more African, right? So I took this ancestry DNA, and it said I was like 76% African. But since I went to Egypt before them, I'm more African than them, 100% African. Even though we only landed in the airport, we took a couple pictures. I bought a little fixture of Nefertiti so I could say I was at least in Egypt. From there, we went to Medina, and Medina is beautiful. Not just the place, but the people. So the thing that struck me the most, and after 2 or 3 days, was the reason why I wanted my wife and family to go, is because it's the exact opposite of what's going on in America, and probably most of the world. People dedicate themselves, they live their life around worshiping God all day, their entire life is built around the 5 prayers. You know how we're trying to figure out when we can make salat? They're trying to figure out when we can put work into this, or when we can go to eat, or what have you, because they are worshiping God every day, all day. And that's the reason that they're there. So we went to the Kuba Masjid that she mentioned. This was the first masjid built that was in Medina. And it was the first masjid built, but it's in Medina. And if you make 2 rakahs there, the sunnah prayers, it's the same thing as making Umrah. So we made Umrah twice. So we made it there, we made the salat there, and then we made the actual Umrah. And I wanted to do this anyway. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Kayla. That's what I'm talking about. So I wanted to make it for myself and for my father, who was not able to make it. So we went there, we made the rakahs there. We went to the Qiblatain. So this is the thing too, is that, now she was mentioning this and I was thinking about it. It's people out there who are here who are non-Muslims and people who are Muslims. If I was on the other side and someone said Tawaf and Safa and Marwa, it may just go in one ear and out the other one because I didn't actually experience it. So they're talking about the rites, but you have to actually physically go and experience it, and then you realize how great it is. So this started with one man, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then it's millions and millions, billions of people who are doing what he did, following his footsteps to worship God. And that's what this whole thing is about. The brother right here, I was, maybe a couple months ago, I was thinking about not going to Hajj just because of the turmoil and things that were going on. He was like, don't let people deter you from going there. And that was the greatest advice he could have given me, because as I said, it was the best experience I ever had. So like I was saying, the Qiblatain, so the Qiblatain is 2 Qiblas. First, the Muslims were praying towards Jerusalem. And then Allah gave the revelation, so they turned and started praying towards the Kaaba. And it's directly across from it. So it's like a 180 turn. So they were praying in this direction, and Allah sent the revelation, and then they prayed in that direction. So it's the actual realization of the revelations is what we're experiencing here. You know, you realize that the Prophet walked in these footsteps. His Sahaba walked in these footsteps. Abraham, Ismail, Hagar walked in these footsteps. So we're walking in footsteps of great men and women of God. So every single day of every hour, we were running around trying to experience that. We probably had 2 hours of sleep every day. This man right here, I'm telling you. I said, Kareem, we about to go make prayer. It was 2 in the morning. Come on, let's go. Boom, we was gone. And then there's stations for you to make wudu. Everything a Muslim, a person who is submitting their will to the will of God wants and needs is right there, right? So we did that, and during our tour, so also we went with Hajj Pros. And Imam Suleiman is great. I wish I could give him more praise. He, I think he studied in Syria. And as soon as we got there, we had a room that was somebody else's room. It was assigned to someone else. I walked in the door and I see some shoes, I see fruit and stuff. And I'm like, did they give us fruit in the hotel? And then I realized somebody else was in there. We weren't supposed to be in there. So luckily, it was a sister too, but she was somewhere else. So luckily, nobody was in there. So I left. I told him about it. He went downstairs. I mean, he handled every issue we had because he knew colloquial Arabic as well as Quranic Arabic. So he was able to handle any issue we had right on the spot. But in the tour, Masjid Bilal wasn't on the tour. So I was like, listen, we were called Bilalians at one point. We're going to see this Bilal Masjid. So it's Bilal Masjid and Bilal Market. And like she was saying, there are people selling stuff everywhere. And at the market, they're selling gold. They're selling basically the same things everybody else is selling. If you've ever been to the Bahamas or anything, they have those little stations where everybody's selling stuff and you can haggle the pricing. That's what was going on there. But when it's time for prayer, everything shuts down. Everything. Nobody's selling anything at all. When we went to Bilal Masjid, it was empty. By the time we got done praying, it was packed because all the merchants and everybody was buying stuff was in there. Because we got there early, and we were in the front. I turned around behind me, and it was people all over. And unlike the sister, I was taking pictures. Right? I definitely understand why she's saying this though, because I had to do my rights more than once because of that. because I didn't experience the spirituality that I wanted to. But I did take pictures, and the reason I took pictures is because, like I said, there are stereotypes from non-Muslims and Muslims, and I wanted them to realize that they need to be here. All of us, I'm going back, they need to be here for more than one reason. I'm gonna try to go through as many of these as possible so I can explain why you need to be at Mecca and Medina. So we went to, oh yeah, this is the reason. Because she asked, right? The sister asked her, are you from America? Now, even in America, Muslims ask us that, are you from America, right? And I used to take offense to it. I was like, what you mean? Like, of course I'm from America. Why do you think people in America are not Muslims? It's everywhere we went, people ask, where are you from? There was a brother who was from, I think he studied in ODU. He's now studying in Medina. And he said, don't tell anybody you're from America, because they're gonna charge you more money for stuff. They figure Americans have more money to waste, so whatever the price is, they're gonna raise it, and then you gotta, haggle it down. So don't tell them you're from there. First place we go to, we get to Medina at like 11 o'clock in the morning, and we had to go to KFC. All the other places that have real food were closed. They had KFC and Hardee's, and there's one place that was on the corner beside that money exchange place. And one brother got money. So we had to exchange our money, and our money is $1 is about $3 and some change to them. So we were like balling. You got $100, you got like $350. So everywhere you go, and everything you can haggle any prices you want. So first place I went to, we went to buy food. The brother said, where are you from? And I'm like, oh my goodness. The guy just told me not to tell people where I'm from. I said, I can't lie, I'm like in Medina, right? And I was like, I'm from America. He was like, no, you're not. I said, yes, I'm from America. He said, no, you're not. He said, you speak really good English, but you're not from America. So I was like, whatever, just give me my whatever. And we ate the food and left. And also, all the places that are, at least to me, that were chains were not that good. The best places to eat were people who specialize in that food. If they're from Malaysia, if they're from Yemen, or what have you. Because it's everybody from all over the world, they have their own specialized food. You can eat whatever you want to there. You just got to find the right restaurants to go to. So we was with a brother named Ezekiel. He's actually a jazz player. He's a singer. This dude is like, does a bunch of things. And he hasn't accepted my friendship on Facebook yet, so he needs to hurry up and do it. So, but he had dreads. Now, mind you, when you do Umrah, now I'm going to tell my mom, so just people who may not understand. So this is a rite that we're doing. She said, you have to be invited. Allah invited us for Umrah and Hajj. All of us, right? So we're all invited. So everybody needs to take that invitation. So at the end of this Umrah, this rite, you have to cut your hair. Men cut their hair. My son here is worried to death about cutting his hair. We had 2 teenagers with us who was crying the blues the whole time because they had to cut their hair. I said, man, I'm over 40 years old. My hair's not growing back. Your hair's about to grow back. Don't be worried about it. So he had dreads, and everywhere we went, people was treating this guy, his name Ezekiel, like royalty, because they'd never seen dreadlocks before. That's what I'm saying why we need to go. African Americans, and Americans, period, need to go. And never seen dreads. They thought he was royalty or somebody famous. We went to a restaurant. They was trying to give him extra food. I was trying to shake the guy's hand. He didn't want to shake my hand. He wanted to shake his hand. We went to the mall. Kids were surrounding him, touching his hair, trying to twist their hair like his. Again, the guy said, where are you from? And this is when I finally realized what was happening. He said, we're from America. He said, no, you're not. Where are you from? And then Ezekiel realized what happened. He said, listen, we don't know where we're from. We're from Africa, but we don't know exactly where. And that's kind of sad. And then I realized what people were asking was they wanted to know where we were from as African Americans. As you know, they knew we were not born in America. We're from somewhere in Africa, so they wanted to know where, so they can say, yeah, I know a brother from Cairo. I know a brother from South Africa, or I know a brother from Nigeria, or what have you. So when someone is asking you that, they're really trying to find out our origins. Now, as I said, I took my ancestry DNA, and I'm from like 4 or 5, maybe 7 different places in Africa. But they have a deficiency with their English, so it's hard to explain to them, oh yeah, we were slaves, and then they breeded us, and we're from different, we're from Africa, we're from Nigeria, and Mali, and Senegal, and all of that. But the reason I'm saying we should come is so we can tell that story, because they do not know. But they really want to know, they sincerely want to know, where are we from, so they can say they know a Muslim from thus and so. I met 3 Africans from South Africa, and they were the greatest. well, one of them specifically hated Donald Trump, and he was talking about that the whole time. He put I got a picture of him putting his fists up and everything. I feel like I'm talking too much. You want to talk, Kareem?
No, I'll go ahead, and I won't have to say that.
So that's one thing about the Africa trip. So we were in Medina, and before I even made it to Mecca, I thought this was the greatest trip ever. So it was like 3 days in Medina. We went to meet some Bedouins. Now, Bedouins are Arabs who don't live in the city. They don't want to be involved in the city. They don't want to do anything. They live in tents. They farm. So the brother said we can go ride a camel. So one of the brothers from Atlanta, his name's Khalil. Him and Lewis, man, they were hilarious together. First of all, it's 4 people in the room. It's us 3 and this brother Khalil. And I ain't gonna tell you the story because Lewis might not want me to tell it, so I'm not gonna tell the story, but it was hilarious. Y'all know how Brother Lewis is, and this man is a jokester, and Lewis doesn't joke at all. He don't like joking. So them two together was hilarious, but ultimately it was a great friendship that they built after the initial start, right?
After the first 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Brother Lewis like, I'm not standing here with y'all. I don't joke, and I'm getting another room by myself.
He
But
left out the room. He
Yes.
only came out to get his sunglasses.
because you know he wears sunglasses no matter if it's nighttime or whatever. So we went to ride this camel. I rode a camel, first time I've ever done anything like that. First, before we did that, the brother had the milk, right? And it was in a cup. And my mom right here, my wife right here, my kids know I don't eat things that's different. I eat regular basic stuff over and over again. I eat the same things every day. So they had this camel milk, and I'm like, here we go. And the brother had told us, he said, listen, this is what they're gonna say. It's sooner to drink this milk, so you gotta drink it. So I was thinking, so just for y'all to understand, sooner means the prophet did it, so it's preferable that you do it, right? So it's not, we don't have to do it, but it's preferable to do it. So the brother gave me the milk. I took like 2 sips. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's good enough. He's like, no, drink it. So I drunk the whole thing down. Then the brother poured it again. Now it's warm milk too. They have it in like a tea kettle. I don't want to drink cold milk, so I definitely don't want to drink warm milk. So we drunk that, and then we saw the brother over there milking the camel. This guy right here, man, he rode a horse. I didn't ride a horse. He rode a camel like it was second nature. He rode on a 4-wheeler. And we were accompanied by this Yemeni brother who was like a giant. He was like 6'6". And the brother Khalil was messing with one of the goats. And he was telling the goat, like, get out of here. And one of the wild camels, not the one we rode, one of the wild camels came over and was like, like, get out of here, like running us away. But then the Yemeni brother, who was 6'6", he came and ran all the camels, everybody away. So we took a lot of pictures there. And this was just us 3 or 4. The next day, the whole group of us went to do 4-wheeling. Now, I've never done this either. I am not a person who involves myself in any danger. So I don't ride bikes, I don't ride 4-wheelers. I only ride things that has a top to it and a cover to it, because I like being safe. So I never rode a 4-wheeler before. And riding this 4-wheeler, my sons, I was thinking about them being there, and I wish they were there, because there was brothers there who were about their age. Actually, Imam Suleiman had his young kids there, and they were probably 10, 11 or something like that. And they were riding on 4-wheelers as well. So we rode all around the mountains. We rode until there was no more mountains. I climbed the mountain, something I don't think I've ever done before. I can't recall doing before. And, so we had all kinds of fun before we even did anything. I rode a 4-wheeler. Okay, on the way back. So we got this, our driver, his name was Yusuf. He was from Yemen also. So we ride him back, right? I'm gonna tell this story, man. Let's see what happens. We ride him back, and Yusuf says, I can't go any further. And we're like, what you talking about? Now, mind you, me and Kareem are in the back seat. Brother Khalil from Atlanta is in the front seat. He says, I can't go any further. He says, a jinn is pushing the car. Now, a jinn is like a spirit. So we talk about angels and jinns, right? So the Iblis, or Shaitan, is a jinn. He's a spirit that has free will to do good or bad. So he said a jinn is pushing the car, right? So he said, I can't go any further. And he's like, I'm going to prove it to you. He turned around backwards. And then we went down an incline, then we went down a decline, then we were going up an incline. He took his hands off the wheel and his feet off the pedals, and the car started going up the hill backwards without him touching anything. Okay, so I was recording everything. Y'all see how many pictures I got? I got 1,000 more pictures, right? But I was so in awe that I didn't record this at all. And we were just looking at each other like, I don't know what just happened. So I got on the bus and I told my friends from Virginia, I said, listen, we saw this man go up an incline. He said the jinn pushed the car. And the brother that was with us, Khalil, said, I don't know what you're talking about. So immediately it crushed all my credibility because nobody else knows us, right? So they think I'm making this up. We got into the hotel. Khalil said, listen, you can't be telling people that the jinn pushed the car, man. He said, nobody's going to believe you. I said, but we all saw this. I said, I did not see a jinn. I didn't see any spirit. All I saw was the car. I was in the car, and it moved up an incline with nobody pushing it, and nobody pushing the gas or touching the steering wheel. I don't know what happened, but that did happen, all right? That's the truth, all right? So I also recorded in Medina before we left. So we were in a hotel that was right outside the Prophet's Masjid. And that thing is massive. It has 42 doors, and Muslims coming in every door possible at all times of the day and night. We're so close to the masjid that we can actually pray inside the hotel, and they said that's considered praying with the community, but we didn't do that. Every time we could, we were out there. And we were out there sometimes late because we had to make wudu or what have you, and we were on that marble floor. And I claim to be tough, but the top of my foot here was killing me. We was making them prayers, right? And it was sisters out there, brothers out there, everybody of every age, because there was so many people inside, we had to pray on the outside. Again, I mean, every time I did that, I recorded, I lost almost all the storage on my phone because I kept repenting around how many people it was. And I was thinking, every single person here is a Muslim, right? It was, I don't even know how many people it was. It could have been 1 million people there. I don't know how many people was in Medina. It was insane how many people were there. But it's like our dream come true. And I was thinking I'll never see these people again. And I was thinking, you know what? Inshallah, I will, in paradise, see all of these people again and more. So this is what I was thinking about every single time we prayed. We didn't miss a prayer. As she said, there's 1,000 prayers. So all the prayers you miss, you go to Medina, you can make them up. In Mecca, it's 100,000. So every time you pray. So you make up for those prayers that you missed when you were tired, when you were sleepy, when you were sick, or what have you. So we went to the grave site, and that was another experience that was awe-inspiring. You think of how many Sahaba were in there, how many people died making Hajj. It was like massive. And those people, inshallah, made it to paradise. You know, made it to see their maker. And that's what everybody was there for. When it's time for prayer, people were running to prayer. People stayed, they were sleeping on the floor so they could be to prayer on time or before other people. I panned for 3 minutes of people that was just in door 42. It was amazing how many people it was. You have to go do this thing. It's just like, you know, Brother Latif, where is he? He was talking about how you go from your house to the community, and then you do the Eid, and then you do the Umrah, then you do the Hajj. It's like every time, every stage, the crowd gets bigger and bigger, and you realize that you are connected with every other Muslim on earth. I just saw this article yesterday saying that Muslims feel more oneness and connectedness with other Muslims than any other religion, than any other faith, than any other form of spirituality. And this is the reason we pray in the same direction, hand, foot together, shoulder to shoulder, 5 times a day. How can we not be more connected than anyone else? But from there, we went to, she was talking about this garden. Now, I did want to ask you about that. So with the sisters, they allowed you all to go in there by yourselves at a certain time?
Yeah, usually when I'm in Hajj, it was 8 o'clock in the morning, and they would lift up the wall, and the wall would open, and we would be in awe of how beautiful the mosque is, because what y'all are seeing, we're not. And so on the second time, it was actually a tour, and it was in the evening.
Okay, because from what the imam was saying, there's different times that the sisters can go in there, because it's pushing and shoving and craziness going on. It's called the Garden of Paradise because it's in between the Prophet's house and the minbar.
Right.
And the first time we went, we couldn't make it in there. It was way too many people, and it takes a long time to get in there. The second time we went in during the weekday, because on the weekend I guess there's more people there. One brother fainted right before he got into there, and I'm gonna mention that later. Okay, so. The other thing, and what I was talking about a stereotype, is about women. I thought, you know, women were like maybe they were treated differently than men. Only difference is women pray on one section and men pray in the other section. When prayer ends, I got pushed by a sister who was probably 70-some years old for being too slow or walking in her way. I mean, it was paradise, for real. It was really Muslims doing everything they wanted to do without thinking about us. You know how, or thinking about other people. You know how we're concerned about whether you pray this way or whether you give salams this way or whether you got a little man on your shirt. Nobody cared about that. There was 1 million people there and nobody cared about anything except worshiping Allah. And the things that we hold as important, these idiosyncrasies, are not as important when you are in the house of Allah, when you're praying to God. So you shouldn't be concerned with it as much as we do sometimes. Now, I'm not a really emotional person. The most emotional I got, though, was on the way to Mecca. So after the 3rd or 4th day, we went to the masjid, we got in our clothes. So Umrah is when you have 2 pieces on. You got a towel over your top and a towel over your bottom. And that's it. Literally, that's it. And it's like what the Imam said was, you are a pilgrim to Allah, right? You're not a king, a prince, or a sultan, or a businessman, or anything. You are a servant of Allah, and that's what you're here for, and nobody knows the difference between you and anybody else. All of us look exactly the same. You can't tell who is who. The sisters don't have to wear that. They can wear whatever they want to, but the men wear a towel at the top and a towel at the bottom.
Unknown caller.
So on the way there, I realized, and it was dark, I realized that, again, I'm going to a place where things that Ishmael, the person who I'm named after, people are commemorating this prophet of God. Now, my entire life, I've been having people who are of different faiths they think of Ishmael in a negative light. So I have to explain or I have to defend Ishmael all the time. Even when sometimes people, they're not doing it maliciously, they just want to know why would your parents name you Ishmael. So I have to explain to him, this is one of the greatest men who ever lived. And on the way there, I realized I'm like a soldier that has no need for his weapons. I don't need a shield, I don't need a sword. Every single person there loves Ishmael, loves Hagar, loves Abraham, loves the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there's no need for that. And that was the most emotional I got. So from there, we went to this Swiss tower, which is a huge place with I think they said it's the largest clock tower in the world. And it's beautiful. And we did Umrah rites there. The first time we were guarding a sister, so it's maybe 15 men, around 20 sisters. So we go around the Kaaba 7 times, and then we made the prayer the prayer for Abraham, and then we did the run from Safwa to Marwa. So the thing with Ishmael and Ismail and Abraham alayhi salam helped built this Kaaba. So going around this again is commemorating something that Ishmael did or helped do. So again, I don't have to defend this at any time while I'm there. And then Hagar is running back and forth, worried that her and her son Ishmael would die of thirst. And when I tell you that lady is a soldier, it was one of the hardest things I ever did. And the reason it was easy is because I was with a group and we were running back and forth. You run down 1 time and back 1 time, that counts as 1. You do that 7 times. So in the meantime, we're making du'as and stuff, right? But she wasn't doing that. She was making du'as of like, please don't let us die here. And she's in the desert. We had fans blowing over top of us. She was in the desert thinking she was going to die, thinking her son was going to die. And the angel of Allah came down and gave her this well that's called Zamzam. Right? Now, Zamzam comes from the word that means enough. So Allah supplied her with so much water. She was like, that's enough. I don't need more than that. The water flows so much that it's flowing to this day. We're drinking Zamzam water now. We still haven't got our shipments of water coming in yet from my son here loves Zamzam water. Should be coming eventually. But so we did those rites, and I was thinking to myself, should I feel something more? Right? Because I was thinking, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna be like crying or teary-eyed or something like that, but it wasn't anything like that. It's just like, to me, now this is my experience, it's like making salat or fasting. I don't cry when I'm doing those things. What I'm doing is giving my worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He invited me to do this, to commemorate these prophets, and that's what I'm doing. So, 2 in the morning, I went back out there, and this is the only time Brother Kareem wasn't with me. And if he was with me, things would have been different. I went and did my 7 circles around the Kaaba again, and I did it on the outside. Because when you're on the inside, like you said, you're like jockeying for position, and I didn't want to do that. I want to worship God. I don't want to be fighting somebody. So the people on the outside are really trying to be religious and spiritual. I did that. Then I tried to do the running back and forth of Hagar. So when you run back and forth, if you have to use the bathroom or something in the meantime, they say you can start where you finished. I did 2.5. I went to the bathroom and did not finish. It was that hard. I'm not joking. And I work out, do all kinds of things now. As I said, if Brother Kareem was with me, he would have made me finish. So luckily he wasn't. But like the Imam Fareed used to say about Ramadan, he said, I would only fast for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I did the Umrah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the one I tried to do for myself, I didn't finish, unfortunately. But the reason I want to mention that is Hagar was a soldier. That lady was something special. And you know, it's Brother Lewis is with us, running back and forth. Then they have people who are unable to do it on their own, so they have tons of wheelchairs to push people. You can get your blessings for pushing them, doing all those things. So we went back the next day, me and Kareem touched this black stone. Because I wanted to say I touched the black stone. Man, it was the toughest thing that I did there. We were getting pushed and crushed. I had a man who was about this tall underneath me between the Kaaba and me, and I couldn't stop from crushing him because the crowd behind me was just pushing on him so hard. So a lot of people there don't know English. So one sister was right beside me, and she like tapped me and said, can she get right there? And I said, no, right? I felt so bad. I was like, man, I'm getting like a mob mentality. So I changed my mind and said, you know what? Yeah, go ahead, sister. Because she was with her mom too, and I let her go. But she wasn't tough enough. She stopped there. So I finally got to it, and I touched the Kaaba. We saw people doing all kinds of crazy stuff. The first time we got there, the man tried to rip the Kaaba off the wall. I mean, rip the, the silver part on the black stone? He was doing like this, trying to rip it off the Kaaba. People were walking on top of each other. They had to crowd surf a man because he was too high and couldn't get his feet on the ground. And as I said, I just want to say I touched it. But that and that garden, and when we got to Mount Hira, where the prophet received the first revelation, I didn't go inside there because I don't think that was worship. What they were doing was more than worship. They were pushing and shoving and all of that, and I can't be concentrating on Allah when all that stuff is happening. So we went on Mount Arafat. We went on the mountain where they fought the Battle of Uhud. And I got sunburned. I didn't think we would get sunburned. There was a young brother with me. He said, I think I'm getting sunburned. And I'm like, oh, we black, man. You don't get sunburned. Next day, my forehead was peeling. My arms are sore and all of that stuff, so we can't get it. And I'm going to leave it to Kareem to explain to you, when we was on this mountain and somebody was taking pictures, he has a story to tell about that. But the last thing I wanted to mention, I want to make sure this was clear, is that Africans, African Americans, it's not a lot of Americans that come there. And it's not a lot of Africans that are there, to my surprise, because they said it costs a lot of money to come from Ethiopian Air to get to Saudi Arabia for some reason. It's a lot cheaper doing Egypt Air. So there were a lot of Africans, but not as many as I expected. But, excuse me, the Americans, African Americans, need to go there because they don't know our story at all. And they are learning from television, from YouTube. In the hotels, they had like 6 channels. One of them was CNN, one of them was the Kaaba, live all day long. So a brother came up to me, a young brother came up to me, he was like 12 years old. We're in Mecca. And it's a circle of African American brothers, right? Young brother walks up to me, he has braces in his mouth, he's smiling like the biggest smile in the world. He said, where you from? I said, American. He said, are you an N-word? That's what he said to me. And now the whole time I'm in here, right, when people doing things, I know they can't speak the language, doing things that I don't like one brother was over top of me while I was getting close to the car, but I was like, move out of the way, or, I said something so they can understand my tone, even though they didn't understand my language. So I told the brother, I said, chill out. Just go away from me, right? And we kept walking, and he asked me again, he was looking like, I do want to know the answer. And after I left, I realized that he had gotten his experience of African Americans from YouTube, from television. And he thinks that's what we call ourselves. And I talked to Sister Jeanette, she said she had a similar experience. They know us from TV, not from actually going there. So they don't know our story. They only know rappers and movie stars and TV shows and stuff like that. So it's not only important because Allah asks you or invites you to go there, but because they don't know about the African American experience. And it would take forever for me to explain it to one person and then to the next person and the next person. But the more we go there, as Allah said, we made us different so we'll know one another, then they'll understand our story. But the brother, I never got a chance to explain it to him because I was pissed. But I didn't realize until I walked away that that's what he was asking. Because he thought that's what we call ourselves. So again, this is an experience that we all need to experience. The brother, when I told him that Brother Lewis is going, he said, is he able to walk? Because he said, because if he's in a wheelchair, and this is the imam that did the whole thing, that set it up, he said, I'll push him around. He said, I want those barakahs. I want those blessings. So it does not matter if you are in a walker, in a wheelchair, what have you, you need to go and experience this. It's the greatest thing ever. Nothing is better than having every Muslim all around you. I didn't have any concerns about anything. I didn't have any feeling of racism, not, except for those 2 seconds. And then that dissipated when I realized where it came from. I had a whole different outlook on humanity. I said at one point that I wanted to live in Africa when I died. I don't know if that's true now. I want to live where Muslims are from all over the world. That's where I want to be when my last days on this earth. Worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with people from all different races. I got pictures of people from Bangladesh, from Malaysia, from Africa, from Oman. I thought Oman was in Africa. I didn't realize, and the man looked like he was from Africa. He looked Nigerian or what have you. All these different people come from these different places, all having the same idea of worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I did a whole bunch of talking. Sorry, Brother Kareem.
Well, I'm glad he did all the talking there. Like you said, we spent the whole time with him, so I don't have to now say anything because he don't say it at all. But just to touch on a few things, and plus I had to stick with him because his mama threatened me over the
Oh, he said when talking to the mic.
Yeah, she said that she saw my face, and if anything happened to her son, she was gonna get me. So wherever he went, that's why I had to stick with him. That's the reason he didn't know I was staying with him everywhere he went, because I didn't want to come back here and something would have happened to him. So, but yeah, it's quite an experience, and pretty much no matter how many times you go, it's gonna be a different experience, and it's one of the experiences that everybody have to do and see for themselves, even though we try and explain what happened and what we saw, but it's something you have to just see and experience for yourself, and the brother imam that put the trip on, he's knowledgeable of a lot of the land sites that's over there, and he encouraged us to pretty much, I don't think he left out any that he didn't encourage us to, he at least pointed out to us as we were passing. Right down to, I think the mark of when Hajj season stopped, it's a point where Prophet Abraham, where he was offered the sacrifice to Isaac, and that's the ending point of the when you're doing Hajj season of Ramadan. And he pointed that out, to us, and the Battle of Uhud, and we both of us You know, because again, you know, I had to kind of like stick mountain brother. When he went up the mountains, I was right there with him, or if not,
Wait a minute.
trying
Tell
to
the
lead the
truth.
way.
Tell the truth. That man was up the mountain a long
I
before
had
I was.
to lead the way. I had to make sure I won't no
He was at the
trouble
top of the
ahead.
mountain. I was taking pictures of him from way up on top. Is that not true?
I had to make sure I won't no
That
trouble
man
up
is a
there.
soldier right there.
So yeah, we pretty much stuck together, and yeah, it's you know quite an experience. It's something everybody have to go experience by themselves, and things that happen like for as people pretty much live during the time that there's some people that's not staying in hotels. They just like living right out there in the open. And then over at the Prophet's Mosque, they have something like umbrellas, and I didn't notice them if they were there, you know, when I went in 2000. They have like some type of umbrella thing that open up all around the Prophet's Mosque, where it sheltered the people from the sun during the day, and they pretty much just live out there in the open, you know. And like the brother was saying about the experience of the brother, you know, when we went out in the desert with the car, you know, that was there's something really miraculous, you know, that happened. And then he wanted me to tell like something that happened on the top of the mountain. It was a young brother, because me and him, and there was a sister, and then the brother that cut his dreads off. It was a young brother, and his people have businesses all in different little stations on the mountain going up to the cave. And people, for one, they like be taking pictures of you, and then they want to charge you. And so they had took some pictures of the little brother. He was 18, a little young brother, one of the four that went up the mountain. Took a picture of him, and then turned around and he asked him how much was it, and he told him 100 riyals. And I told him, I said, no, just give him, you know, he had gave him the picture, but then he wanted to charge him 100 riyals for the picture. And I said, no, give him the picture back, you know. And then he was saying, well, how much? I said, let's tell him 10 riyals. And so he gave him the 10 riyals. He gave him the picture. So then I went to see where Ishmael was, because we was way ahead of them. And then he got up, caught up with me and said, well, the guy took the picture back. And I said, well, come on, let's go back. So that's what he talking about.
Finish the story, bro. You leave us out.
Well, I told the guy, I said, look, you want to get thrown off the mountain? And then he gave the picture back to him. So yeah, that's what he was talking about, you know, that. But yeah, it was.
He took the drama out of it. So on this mountain, the brother tried to run around this way that people don't know, because it's steps that you go up. So he tried to hide, and Kareem went around one way, told the other brother to go around this way. Say, like, listen, we're gonna catch this guy. So did you grab him or touch him or something? Yeah. And then he told the man, listen, give him the photo or the money, or you gonna go off this mountain. It's a story that the brother told me.
Yeah, I did. He gave
Of course. And listen, that mountain was very, very high too. Very high. They have people that are making the steps so you can walk up the mountain. So they're like paving it, and then they ask for money for paving it. They sit up there and pave the whole thing. And we went up as high as possible. And then we went around through where the prophet was meditating and he received his first revelation. It was amazing. It definitely was. Then the other thing is going down. You realize when the prophet first got his revelation, he was scared. So you realize he was on this mountain running down it, and there were no steps like we had. So he was running down a mountain, and the mountain was so high that we were on a bus, and the bus wouldn't go up to the hill to where the mountain started. And cabs wouldn't go up there. There was a couple of cabs that would go up there, and they were backing down crazy dangerously because the hill, it was like a mile up before we even got to the mountain. and we had to walk up the hill and then walk up the steps. And you think about the Prophet running down that mountain. It was very
And it
amazing.
took about an hour and a half to get up to the top of the mountain. And like I said, that's with them somewhat trying to make it like steps now, but I'm pretty sure back then it wasn't carved out the way it's carved out now, you know, so.
We were on that mountain for almost 3 hours. Now, him and the brother, I think he was 17. They was already up on top of the mountain. They saw everything, but we was with the sister, and we wanted to make sure she got up there safely. So me and the brother Ezekiel was going up there slowly with her. So we were on it for 2.5, almost 3 hours, 2 hours, 44 minutes. And we had to go inside underneath these rocks to get to the inside of the cave. It was, if you're claustrophobic, I mean, it was tough. So we got in there and we did that, and she prayed her 2 rakats inside of there. Ezekiel prayed his 2 rakats. And then we had to pray on top of the mountain because at the top, and this is the other thing. So we're at the top of the mountain, and I didn't realize this either. I knew businesses stopped, but cars stopped driving when the Iqamah is called. So we're at the top of the mountain, you can see the whole city. You see people driving. When the adhan is called, people don't drive their cars. They sit on the side of the road. I mean, we got the best thing that is possible known to man. I mean, this religion is the greatest. So, I don't know. That's very awe-inspiring to me. So we were on top of the mountain praying, right, because it was time for prayer. And that's how my head got roasted. I took my kufi off because it was hot, and I realized I should have kept it on. My whole forehead was peeling the next day. But, yeah, that's our story. Any questions? Oh, by the way, this is a rock that we got from Mount Hira. He got a rock, too. He gave it to Sister Ruth.
Wait, you still got it?
No, I gave it to him.
She got, okay.
I gave it to Brother Neef to give it to him.
Oh, okay.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question
Yes, sir.
for the 3 of you. So, in your seeing all these people from all these different places in the world, and all different corners of the planet, how many of them spoke English?
Very few. And they loved us when they did, right?
Yeah, right. And
Brother from the UK, brother from Canada I met. I don't know how many people you met, though.
like I said, the sister that I met in Jerusalem, she said she had taken an English lesson just for me, because I was the first English-speaking person that she had actually spoke to. And so that was alhamdulillah. She was so, she was really excited that she had taken this course. And I was, like I said, the first English-speaking person that she had encountered toward her trip.
In Medina, there was a station, a place that had like magnets and stuff that saying, I love Mecca, I love Medina. There was a sister in there from Turkey. She said she taught herself English. But it was very few people that knew English. Now, everything had English writing on it because our money, they want American people to come there, but it's not a lot of Americans that come there. That's what I'm saying. We need to come, not a lot of Americans or African Americans. That's why I think it's imperative. I mean, we went there for $2,000, and I'm telling you, in 3 days, my $2,000 was already paid. The rest of the stuff was icing on the cake. And you can go there with $200 for real, or less than that, and be perfectly fine. Eat everything you want. We also ate camel. We also ate some camel too from this Yemeni restaurant. It was delicious. So yeah.
I mean, so to answer the question, the younger people, like when you're there, younger people, I guess, I don't know if it's from their schooling and they've taught English in school, but a lot of times if you see younger people, they know English. Yeah.
Sure.
Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to say too that so many people go that don't have hotel accommodations. You meet people, they don't have hotel accommodations, they just want to get there. And they're actually sleeping out on the mountain. You see, like at night, you see lights on the mountain where people are staying out in the street someplace. Or their whole focus was to get there.
But unfortunately now, like I said, my experience from Mecca now, they have cut them off. They built there's hotels, like he was saying, the largest hotel, it has Allah, and I think y'all stayed at the same Swiss.
Yeah, Swiss.
everything is Sheraton. I'm telling you that I looked out the window and one of the sisters, Khadijah, older sister, tried to make it out to the street. Now, when we went in 2001, we stayed in the street. There is no sleeping in the harem no more. I didn't see any poor people. And like I said, I looked out the window and I really wanted to go into Mecca. And now what they have done is that they have cut them off. And they have to enter into the gate to get in there. Like you don't see the Meccans anymore. And that was, like I said, I'm seeing it from 20 years ago. The Kaaba is real small now. The Kaaba, when I first came years ago, was huge. But it's so closed in now. Like I said, you looking at McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, the Sheraton. I mean, it's enclosed now of some very high fancy hotels. Now, when I went there before, Africans was all and people sleeping. I didn't even see the bathrooms that you go down. Like you don't, like when I went before, I can go down into the well of Zamzam and actually see the well and go in there. There's no more of that. I mean, they have really cut off, and it seemed like to me that if you don't have money, it's going to really make hard for you to come there because the accommodations are 5-star big time. I mean, these hotels are really super fancy. And like I said, when we left to go to certain places in the city, that we passed out of the gate from the harem, and then I saw all the people, like, you know, the marketplace where I used to go and shop. It's a serious mall. I mean, the mall is like 6-7 stories. And you have to go through the mall to get to your hotel. And before you can go right through the harem and go through all the different doors, you know, it's not like that anymore. So my thing is to, you know, I don't even know where the poor people were. That's what concerned me a lot. You know, like you were saying, you didn't see a lot of Africans. You didn't experience that true experience of them walking all down the street and it was massive. And they still building. Cranes are everywhere. I mean, it's really, really changed. So I don't know, the Western has a lot of influence. How they did it, you know what I mean? Like I said, you have to really be really spiritual because like I said, when you come out and you see all these things, and I'm telling the people of the world are poor. You know, that's what I said, even with the cameras. This guy, he wanted to keep my camera. I was like, not my excess max. You know what I mean? He was like looking at the camera and he was like, gift. I was like, no, not this time. No gift. So, you know, and so I don't know where they were this time. You know, I don't, like I said, if you and those who experienced going to Hajj years ago or made Umrah years ago, it's a totally different experience. Did y'all get to go to the streets?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we ran through the streets. Brother Lewis, we almost got hit a couple times because the traffic is crazy. I don't know, do we have any street lights? Do they have street lights? I don't know if I saw any. You just got to run across the street as fast as you can.
Right. So did y'all have to go through a special door to get out of like outside to like Mecca? Because I saw all the strips of all the different merchants and.
Oh, I didn't go too far out in Mecca though. We went out in Medina.
Okay, Medina, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
travel. Medina is still the same, still beautiful, people still beautiful. But like I said, Mecca, you would be really surprised on how much building, you know, all you really see is the Kaaba. You can't see the beauty of the harem. You know, and everything looked like a tunnel that you walk in and a stadium, and it just didn't have that same beautiful effect that I encountered years ago.
All right, the Imam said he wanted to, we're going to eat, and we can resume talking while questioning while we're eating. But I did want to mention one other thing about like pictures and cameras and things like that. And I think, like she said, it's going to be hard for people to go in the future. And I think the reason is it's going to be because of cameras. What I experienced, or what I saw as soon as I got there, was that people were taking pictures from every country in the world, right? That is dawah, which means more people are going to go to this place. So it's going to be like maybe you're going to have to get permission to go there more than once, because I know they charge you more money to go there more than once, because it's an experience that I want to go immediately. I want to go right back, right? So other people are going to go, and then everybody's seeing that it's not what you expect it to be. More people, non-Muslims, ask me to be Muslims. They are interested in Islam because of the pictures that I gave out. That's what I'm saying. I see a kind of different perspective. He went there when there was less things going on there as well. They didn't have the umbrellas and everything. They're trying to make it more friendly for other people to come. Probably America's most because they have more money. But once people see what's going on in Mecca and Medina, this Islam thing is going to explode more than it's doing now. The dawah that we're doing or not doing, those pictures are making dawah. I'm telling you, I get inboxes of people who want to be Muslim. A brother who he never considered Islam, never said a word about it. I put like 4 pictures on Instagram. The brother said, I want to be a Muslim. And this is what he said too. He said, I know I got to do everything right. I said, no, you don't have to do everything right, man. All you got to do is believe. That stuff comes after that. But seeing all those Muslims together, praying to one God in one direction in unison, people want to be involved in what we're in. That's what I see. I know there is a negative aspect of losing spirituality. And as I said, I did the things more than once because I felt like I wasn't getting the spiritual connection I should have. But those pictures make people who never considered being Muslim consider being Muslim.
You have to also know this, that pictures are haram to most people in the world. And when I went to the Kaaba 20 years ago, you couldn't take pictures. They would confiscate your camera. So just because technology today is a thing, everything is that they have made is not halal. And so I say that, and when I made that remark about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, like it says in Surah Kahf, and there's Surah Istara, that Allah has placed the angel on the left and right, and Allah makes Muslims. You know what I mean? So I don't care how you expose and see what people see, because, like I said, this will disintegrate. I mean, you know what I mean? But like I said, those angels that you have on your recording on you will be with you until the day of judgment. And like I said, you can look in Surah, I think it's 50, Surah 50, Ayat 17, 18, that Allah speaks on his recording. So like I said, it bothered me. It bothered me in the worst way. The people, I mean, everybody's taking selfies. I mean, you know, you don't see people taking selfies in church. You know what I mean? While the minister's talking, I mean, you know, that is really disrespectful. But like I said, back in 2001, it says even at Arafat, you can't take any pictures. And when you went in there and you had your camera 20 years ago, you can bet your bottom dollar that they was going to take it. So now everybody, like I said, is on one of these things. I mean, whether you poor or whatever, this is our form of communication. But it doesn't mean that you can take pictures, but it doesn't mean that you should be taking your hand and putting it on the Kaaba and placing that. This is a spiritual right. Umrah and Hajj is an obligation. It's not something, and like I said, I'm old school. So like I said, I'm talking from experience of going there 20 years ago, and I took one picture of the Kaaba, and Latif can bear witness, I have it in my living room. And I had that picture for 20 years, and I snuck that picture 20 years ago. I was on the top, and I'm telling you, with my little camera, and I slid my camera, and that was only to remind me, and like you said, the different people who was with me, that will with me on the day of judgment. So I don't mean, you know, like I said, anything, I didn't put no pictures on Facebook, you know, people was like, why didn't you put your picture, something in mind that I, you know, will have the memories for as long as I live. Like I said, young folks, so you know what I mean? It's like, you know, I don't even know how to use it. When the little sisters was like, no, you zoom out like this, and you go around, I was like, sister, just close it out. You know, I used it for communication. So may Allah bless each and every one of us, and may Allah accept our Umrah. And I thank you for having me, and inshallah, like I said, do go. It is a great experience, but everybody's experience is different. Assalamu alaikum.
All right, time to eat.